Today I'm going to be doing a simulated principal evaluation with Miss Jewel Harless, the principal of Sunnyvale Elementary School. What I have done is to be a very personable, because I'm a new superintendent, in order to be very personable, I'm visiting her at her school in her professional development room so that she feels very comfortable discussing her evaluation. Well, good afternoon, Miss Harrington.
Hi, thank you for calling.
So, of course, I've only been in the superintendent's office for about 6 months now. And, of course, we're at that point in the year where we've got to start looking, not only planning for next year, but looking at, the progress that we've made as a district this year. When I first came in, one of the things that I've kind of reiterated to you guys is that we're taking multiple exits to a desired destination. So we're taking a lot of different ways in the district, trying to get to, a very desirable place using a lot of different ways. And I know that, that's some of the discussion that we've had about using different ways to get there. Some places using the same ways, but basically not having a packaged deal for the entire district. So let's go ahead and look at kind of your evaluation and going with our talk about multiple exits to desirable destinations. We're going to look at some of your what I call exit scores. Some of the programs that you've put in place this year, some of the things that you've done, and we're going to relate that back to your evaluation. Okay? So how do you think, before we even get into the data part, how do you think that your year's been this year?
So far, this year has been a little challenging. We did lose 3 teachers last year, and in addition, we are a Title I school. So I believe that I'm doing what I can. I do enjoy going to the classrooms, but I do see where I can improve with my leadership skills, and of course, hope to plan with my team over the summer, our curriculum facilitators, and really get the ball rolling for next year.
Well, and you know what I like? The first thing I like is that you started out talking about the things that you can improve on, which shows me that as a leader, as an administrator, you've already begun that reflective piece of seeing how you can improve. Because you just finished your first year, correct?
Yes.
All right. So let's look at when we look at your evaluation. Of course, you know that you have your different standards, your different 7 standards. So when we look at standard 1, which is our strategic leadership standard, I like to kind of just have a visual here, just so that we can make sure that we're both looking at the same information. If there's something that's wrong on here, please let me know. But just to kind of make sure that we're both looking at the same information. So we noticed that, in the district as a whole, we didn't have many suspensions, which is great. And we noticed that actually at your school, your suspension rate was about half of what the entire district was. So congratulations on that. I know you're doing a lot of work with PBIS, which hopefully is helping with keep those suspensions down. So then when we move into your EVOS data, and I'm basically using these 2 portions of data to kind of discuss your strategic leadership standard.
Okay.
So when we look at your EVOS data, skip down just a little bit. I know that you have 24 classroom teachers. 3 of your teachers had remarkable data where they are going above and beyond. You had 6 teachers that were in the red, and you had 15 that were in the green. And let me tell you why I coded this as an orange instead of a green. Out of those 15, 12 of them had negative scores.
Okay.
So what that then does to your total school growth index is it brings you to a negative 1.98. So we know that negative means that kids have lost ground. Have you kind of been able to pinpoint some of the things that may have went wrong, that may have caused kids to lose ground?
Last year, the growth did show itself because the students were more proficient than what I'm noticing this year. One cause was a 4th grade teacher actually resigned towards the end of the school year. And consequently, we had subs in and out of that classroom for the remainder of the year up until testing. This caused kids to lose ground, and unfortunately, it's reflective in our school growth.
And we know that, of course, stability is one of the most important things that we can offer students. So what I want you to think about is, of course, this is said and done. But one of the things that we think about when we have staff that do leave in the middle of the year, after the year starts, so forth and so on, is how can we give them the best consistency possible? Does that mean that we search out and try to find us a long-term sub that we know, is decent at teaching that particular subject, that we know, particularly wants to work every day and be there every day? Oftentimes you'll have your winter graduates from universities that are good, students who are fresh out of school, who've got those new ideas, who are eager, to get a teaching position or get a long-term sub-positions in hopes of getting a teaching position. And then sometimes what I want to show the district is that sometimes we have to think outside the box. Whether that means taking, I know you have an academic coach that you're allotted as well as a curriculum facilitator, whether that means taking those two and having them teach half the day, whether that means, making sure that our core subjects are shared amongst the people on that grade level, and maybe utilizing a teacher assistant or so to teach our non-core subjects. But we've got to make sure that if this is what the state is judging us on, that these are the most important things that we're doing each day, because this is what they're judging you on, this is what they're judging me on, and this is what they're judging our students on. So when we talk about our first standard for strategic leadership, I did give you a developing on that one, and that is due mostly in part to the negative score. Knowing that students at the end of the day have gone backwards, and that is something that we cannot have as we go forward. So when we go to our next standard, we're going to talk about your instructional leadership. Now, I do want to congratulate you, because as we looked at your reading and math scores, I saw that your reading scores in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade were actually higher than the district scores. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, however, when we get to your math scores were lower in all grade levels than the district average. Now, what this says to me right off the bat is it says that, for example, 3rd grade reading, it says that yes, you were higher than the district. However, over 50% of your 3rd graders are not proficient. And so while there's a cause to celebrate because you were one of our higher schools, there's still a cause not to celebrate because we had over 50% of our students who were not proficient, and that happened throughout all 3 grade levels. I do wonder though, with your reading scores being higher than your math scores, have you noticed any reasons why that might be?
So actually, coming into this school year, we implemented several research-based reading programs. So the curriculum facilitator as well as our academic coach, we all really focused on some reading programs for our students to boost their reading scores, and unfortunately did not focus so much on the math reading scores.
So what I would definitely love for you to do going forward, again at Faust Elementary, their scores in math for this particular year actually doubled from what they were the previous year. So what I would love for you to do is reach out to that principal, take a day or so, take your anybody in your leadership team, maybe a grade level chair, whatever, take about a half a day, go over, observe, and see some of the things that are going on over there. Not to say that their program is going to fix your problem, but to say that it would be a great collaboration between the two, your school and that school, to get some ideas and really see some of the great things that they're doing and bring some of those back to your school. So when we go also down and look at your science scores, you were at a 37.8, the district was at a 39.1, and the state was at a 45.4. So as I've been telling all of the elementary school principals, the science test we know is new. We know that students are not used to getting on that computer and actually taking a test on that computer. We have seen through evidence of observation that a lot of students are not using scratch paper, are not using pencils to work out any of the science problems, the science questions that are on there, and a lot of them are rushing through it. And so one thing that I have tried to stress with all principals is we've got to make sure that we're focusing on not only the science content, but how to properly go and take a test on the computer, using that time wisely, what to look at, your processes of elimination, things of that nature.
Okay.
So there definitely will be some rollout from the district to kind of help with some PD for 5th grade science, just to get teachers a little bit more involved with the hands-on process.
Wonderful.
So look for that coming. So I am going to give you proficient on your test scores. A lot of your test scores, again, were higher than the district, and so we do recognize that something is happening. Even though we're losing ground a little bit when we went back to your evals, we could be losing a lot more ground. So we're going to keep pushing forward on those test scores. Partner up with that school, see what's going on over there, and hopefully next year we'll get to where we need to be. So now we're going to talk about cultural leadership, and for this we're going to look at some of your teacher working conditions that were completed this year. And if you'll look at my slide for you, the top two things are things that I highlighted that I believe are an issue in our district at various schools. And the thing at the bottom is going to be a positive that happened at your school. So one of the things that according to your teacher working conditions, teachers stated that 67.3 of them believe that they have great time to collaborate. Mm-hmm. And I know that we've discussed your master schedule a couple of times. And I know that the time that you've got in there for collaboration, you've been real unique in how you've worked that out. So I commend you on that. 30.9% of them believe that the non-instructional time provided for teachers is sufficient. That's rather low to me. Again, and then 43.6 believe that class sizes are not reasonable. And given the number of students you have, the number of classroom teachers you have, do you believe that they're reasonable? Is there some reason that some classes are higher than others? Do you think that's a problem? How do you feel about that?
I did ask for extra teachers at the beginning of the year. The class sizes are large here, especially for our tested areas. So I would love for the opportunity to have smaller class size to really hone in on how the teachers are going to provide more proficient instruction for our tested area.
You know what, and you're not the first administrator that has told me that. And so, there's definitely something that we've got to look into. I know that we've been very strategic, or the district has been very strategic in lowering class sizes K, 1, and 2. But again, oftentimes we overlook that 3, 4, 5 when that's really our tested area. So that's something that we'll definitely look at as we go forward. When we talk about your facilities and your resources, 90.9% of your staff believe that the reliability of your speed and internet connections are sufficient for instruction, which our IT department has done a great job with that. They also believe that your physical environment supports teaching and learning, and that teachers have adequate space to work, which really, your school is only about 3 years old, so they should have a nice building. However, 34.5% believe that teachers have sufficient access to office equipment and supplies. And with the allotment and the budget that you guys received, especially at the elementary level, can you explain to me a little bit more as to why they don't feel as though they have enough supplies?
That's something that I'm glad you brought to my attention, so I will definitely look at that closely this upcoming school year. We are Title I, so I'm grateful that we have extended budget, but a lot of times, especially like I mentioned earlier, we did spend money on reading resources this year. We have spent money on student resources, and so unfortunately I see that teachers
had to cut back on something.
Yes.
And so, of course, there's all kinds of positives and negatives in the fact that your reading scores were higher than you probably had anticipated. However, teachers have to have their supplies, so there's gonna have to be a little give and take either way we go. We're actually looking at a new allotment process that may happen this year that I believe that a lot of the schools will be a little bit more happy with. As far as what we're going to try to do with some local dollars to, give you a little bit more supply money so that we can make sure that, teachers have the supplies that they need. So keep that in mind. Look for that coming, down the pipeline. And, of course, we want to buy as much as we can, but, we've got to be very strategic with the situation that's going on in our state right now. So what I believe that I've noticed are some of the most the largest issues that could be affecting some of the things that are going on at your school is that 28% of your staff believe that parents and guardians are influential decision makers in your school. Mm-hmm. So what that basically says to me is that 70% of your staff, close to 80% of your staff, do not think that parents and guardians help make influential decisions in your school. That can be because they just don't want to. That can be because they're not given the opportunity to. Speak to me a little bit about that.
With our school improvement team, there is a parent liaison. but in this community, it's difficult to bring parents into our school. They're supportive with the behavior issues, but not so much supportive with the academics. And so,
Do you think that they're not supportive of the academics, or do you think that it's almost to a place where they can't be supportive of the academics because a lot of the academics are above what they can do?
that's true. Just thinking of what you're saying, maybe we can provide some curriculum nights, some different resources to help our parents become more
Yeah,
involved.
definitely. You know, they've not only got to know what the curriculum is, know what their kids are learning, but they've got to then understand it and understand how they can then help their students.
Mhm.
You know, oftentimes when parents do not feel comfortable, they feel as though it's above their head. That then is another factor that deters them from even being a part of the school experience.
Okay.
So what I do want you to do, I told you about FAUST earlier, what I would love for you to look at now is Jones Elementary has
Okay.
done a lot of parent outreach this year. They've had a workshop for parents, and they've used those Title I dollars to really bring that community connection. So I would love for you to reach out to that principal just to kind of get some ideas. You know, they were very creative, you know, with the dollars and with the money. Of course, everything has to be, you know, on the correct paperwork and be approved by Title I because that's federal money. But those are things that I would love for you to really look into to kind of focus on bringing your community together. When I say community, I mean your students, your teachers, your parents, your elderly people that live down the street. You know, really bringing this community together. This community's been through a lot in the past 5 to 10 years, and they really need a common bond, a coming together.
Okay.
So when we talk about student conduct, we had another issue that kind of popped out at me, and that was the fact that 32% of your staff believe the students follow rules, whereas 83% of teachers believe that teachers consistently enforce the rules. So I see some kind of disconnect between the teachers enforcing the rules, students following the rules, and then somewhere in the middle there, school administrators consistently enforce the rules. So there's some kind of disconnect going on between the administration, the students, and the teachers. Do you have you thought about any of that?
We do have PYS, which of course has decreased some of the behavior. I enjoy being in the classrooms, but I'm focusing on the academics and classroom management. I see I do need to be more hands-on.
Well, and I will tell you this. I was actually going to tell you later, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. Because of what we have projected you for next year, you're getting an assistant principal.
Thank you.
And so, you know, I know that, you know, it's always been a focus to have them in middle and high. Elementary's got to have it. And so I'm trying to move some people around to make sure. Now, I can't tell you if we're going to allow you to hire or if it's going to be someone we're moving from another school, but I will tell you that next year you will have some help.
That'll be great.
So hopefully that will kind of make, you know, we've just got to make sure that we're consistent. We're consistent in the students know what the rules are. We're consistent in the teachers enforcing them the way they're supposed to be enforced, but then we're consistent in how the administration enforces the rules, so that the entire school is on one page. And I think that, you know, you've been doing your PBIS, which is great. So use that kind of as the catalyst to take the enforcement of rules and behavior and positiveness to the next level. Okay? So, we're going to stop right there. Our simulated principal evaluation. Thank you.